What's the good word, everybody? DKB here, and coming off Robert Saleh's press conference, we got a lot of juicy news, updates, and confirmation. There is the overarching question that I posed, which you've seen from the thumbnail and title, why Denzel Mims is the critical player for this week for us, and we'll dive into that into here in a little bit, but going back to the press conference and some of the news that we got. So Corey Davis is officially ruled out. Shouldn't be a surprise. He hasn't been able to practice all week. Elijah Moore has been confirmed that he will see the field. He will play. We also got the information from Michael LaFleur that he is still continuing to look and see how he feels about all the things. But definitely getting Elijah Moore playing more of a slot role once again is on the table. We did get the confirmation that Denzel Mims will also once again be seeing the field for a second week in a row, so he has to be excited about that. And then with James Robinson, Robert Saleh is playing that a little close to his chest. Joe Douglas made the move immediately, within 24 hours after we got the Brees Hall ACL and MCL news. And so he's essentially had the full week of practice, but still, Robert Saleh is playing it a little close to his chest. Maybe it's the gamesmanship again. He hasn't officially said that James Robinson will play or will not play. He'll take today and tomorrow to take a look at practices, inquire about how James Robinson feels, what's his confidence level in the playbook so far, and then I'm sure the same with Mike LaFleur. Those conversations will come up where they'll want to know how many packages maybe they can piece together for him. The running back room will be interesting because assuming that James Robinson does play, I'd probably say it's something like a 60-30-10 split. I think Michael Carter still leads the way like 60% of the time in this game, just because he understands the playbook. He knows everything that's going on. And James Robinson just doesn't have that luxury yet. Unless James Robinson pops right up, right from the get-go. But irregardless, 60% of those snaps will go to Michael Carter, 30% to James Robinson. Zan Donovan Knight and Ty Johnson, they'll round out that remaining 10%. Probably see like maybe 2-3 snaps apiece. And then I'll be curious to see if we still try to go with this dual running back set that we've been making dangerously effective for us when it was Brees Hall and Michael Carter. So we'll see if maybe we can get the same thing going with Michael Carter and James Robinson, or maybe they try out a few different other things and kind of see where we can take the identity to from there. But for the overarching question that we need to get answered here, why is Denzel Mims the underrated or core player of this game and a critical component of us winning? Corey Davis would have been the person that I said would probably be that player, even though I know we're a running-oriented offense, for the specific fact that he's so dangerous in the run game. Corey Davis being out is actually a huge miss for us if Denzel Mims doesn't fill his slot. And that's because not only has he played, and after Mike LaFleur's press conference where he mentioned how often Corey Davis is actually in the slot, I had to go back and take a look. So courtesy of RotoWire, and I think some of these numbers, and it's only a handful one way or the other, are a little bit skewed. It's the only place I've seen that kind of had the breakdown of everything. So Corey Davis, 337 plays, 217 of those have come out of the slot as opposed to 106 being on the boundary. This means, and for, people that don't generally know and pay attention to the formations and everything, we run essentially a lot of 3 wide receiver sets. Sometimes we do 12 personnel, which means we're having 2 tight ends on the field, 1 running back. And so when we're running kind of a classic setup for us, we would ideally have Elijah Moore on the boundary. We would have our 5 offensive linemen, of course, on the line of scrimmage. We would have our wide tight end, either Conklin or CJ Uzoma, who's right on the hip of the offensive lineman. You'd have a couple paces of space, and then you'd have your slot wide receiver, which let's just say is Corey Davis based on the numbers. And then on the other boundary, you would have a Garrett Wilson, or you would have, a Jeff Smith, maybe a Denzel Mims, something like that. But that's essentially the setup. And so being able to have not only your 5 offensive linemen, you have great blockers like CJ Uzomah and Tyler Conklin that can rotate in and out, and then you have another excellent blocker in Corey Davis who can essentially do the same. And so you're really controlling that line of scrimmage. And keep in mind, as a slot wide receiver, you don't have to be on the line of scrimmage. They're generally playing closer to maybe where the quarterback is kind of lined up. And so you have a couple paces of space. You can really build up some steam and go and knock some heads off if you have the willpower and, the technique and the mentality and all that kind of stuff. And, Corey Davis is still an imposing force, 603 pounds. I think he said he dropped down to about 6'3", about 210 pounds, I think is where he's about playing at right now. And so we're talking about a big guy. He doesn't have, elite speed, but he has some build up. He has some strength to him. And when I think about Denzel Mims, he's Corey Davis with more to him. I mean, also 6'3". I think Denzel Mims plays about 220, 225, though, if I remember correctly. And, I've talked about it ad nauseum. Julio Jones level gifts in terms of athleticism, the strength, the speed, the long strides, the hand size, everything. So he can really go out there and maul some people in his own right. And when you take a look at the splits, Denzel Mims just got his chance in the regular season to see the field last week. 24 plays, 15 of those also coming out of the slot. So even though he was replacing Elijah Moore's role last week as the X receiver, Corey Davis being our Z receiver, that's kind of where I see him ideally replacing, because, again, that's what the depth chart says for us. That's also ideally what everybody thought the replacement would be if we ever traded or moved on from Corey Davis's contract. Denzel Mims would become and replace Corey Davis, except to a more effective level for us. So, does that happen, and what does that look like? If Denzel Mims ends up being our guy once again, that becomes Corey Davis, then we don't lose anything. We might even gain a little bit more just due to those athletic traits. Again, having those linemen there, having Tyler Conklin or CJ to help add in a little extra power, and then having Denzel Mims in the slot would be great. We can also see how he does on the boundary, being able to go out there and snag some big time plays for us. And then it begs the question with Elijah Moore as well. What does that look like? So if I had to guess, and Mike LaFleur makes true on giving Elijah Moore more, preferential treatment as a slot wide receiver, let's say it's Garrett Wilson on one boundary. It's our lineman. We have Tyler Conklin, and then we have Denzel Mims in the slot. We have Elijah Moore on the other boundary. I would say it's probably more likely that we see Elijah Moore and Denzel Mims rotate their spots, even though we have a lot of movement at all three positions. I would say Elijah Moore 60-40. I would probably say 60% of his routes will come out of the slot. 40% will come out of being a boundary player, and then same thing for Denzel Mims. 40 on the boundary, 40 as the slot wide receiver, 60% of his snaps on the boundary. It all kind of depends on what they feel about the matchups. I mean, who knows if Kyle Duggar plays? We'll see how much blitzing they try to do, considering everybody's seen the numbers about when Zach Wilson has a rush coming at him, and he feels that pressure immediately. So between whatever the game plan goes and the flow of the game and everything like that, I think will determine where we see Denzel Mims line up and what that advantage will look like. If he's going to be on the outside, it'll be interesting. Who knows if they'll throw somebody like a Jack Jones or a Marcus Jones on him. Either way, they've been phenomenal in coverage all season. Really, the biggest liabilities have kind of been the safeties and stuff when we're talking about receptions and all that. But Denzel Mims is essentially our X factor of the game, not only due to his rushing ability, but can we capitalize on what he brings from a physical component in this game, considering who he's going to be lining up with and the fact that he's been more involved in depth and understanding his playbook and things like that this go around. So I'm super excited just to see what this chess matchup looks like. I'm still very much so hoping, expecting, fingers crossed, and prayers up to the gods that we get a blowout or maybe we can shut out New England. But it'll be interesting. Let me know where you guys would kind of expect to see guys lined up. Do you want to see Elijah Moore more in the slot? Do you want to see Denzel Mims have a breakout game in the slot or maybe on the outside? Give me what your most effective lineup kind of looks like. And I think for me, it would be Garrett Wilson and Denzel Mims on the outside with Elijah Moore and Tyler Conklin lining up in line next to the offensive lineman and, Elijah in the slot. So appreciate you guys and all the support as normal. I'm looking forward to these comments, and I will catch you guys again. Peace.